Hello, everyone. Today I have with me hunter jumper coach Peter Gisborn. Peter has a lifetime of experience in the hunter jumper rings, and over the past 20 years, he has significantly built upon his resume, which includes being the two-time OHJA Jumper Coach of the Year and winning the award for the Eastern Canadian Hunter Derby Champion. Peter has successfully competed at all levels of the sport in both hunter jumper rings, right up to the World Cup classes. And he is currently enjoying success in the Grand Prix ring with his horse, Bambino Chin P. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Tracey, for having me.
You're very welcome. All right. So, Peter, you started up Peter Gisborn Inc. in 1999, which is right when I started up Mitchell Equine Massage. It's been great watching you develop over the years as a rider and a coach. And this is an industry that can be a hard one to have longevity in. So you must be really pleased with how your career has evolved.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's it's a very up and down business. I find that there's many hills and valleys to it. So yeah, over the longevity of my career so far, I think we've been lucky to have a quite a strong business, and I think we just continue to work hard and keep doing what we do. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's definitely those ups and downs. I refer to them as ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You definitely have those moments, and like you said, you just keep going, and I don't know, like whether but I could say for me, I draw good people into my life. So, you have a healthy clientele, and that's always good for business.
Yeah, I think, like you say, I think if you treat people well, uh, then you draw the right people in. I was lucky that I was born into it. My parents ran a business. And so the passion was there for me already from the time I was a little kid. I rode a pony, I think, when I was 4 years old. And I think
that was it.
Riding a pony was jumping over little poles and stuff, put a smile on my face. So I think having the passion to have a job that you love made the hours easier and to be able to get through things. So I think I've been lucky in my start. I did love it, and it made it easier to do the hours and to do the things you need to do to be successful and to have some longevity in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back to the beginning of that evolution. Who was it that helped you find your love of horses as a junior? And how did they most inspire you?
Again, I think I have to say it was my parents. Our business when I was younger was sort of a lesson business. And then as my sister and I grew into the horse show world, we fox hunted, we did everything.
Oh, cool.
Went to schooling shows. And then we got this, the horse show bug, and we started to, so I would have to say my parents instilled it in me young, because I just grew up doing it. And it's since I was 5 years old, I think being a horseman or some related to horses is all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah. And going back to the instilling, I mean, did they instill your work ethic as well? Like, were you out in the barn doing everything like mucking stalls and all that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, I would say that, I was lucky because our farm was a bit like a community center. So it wasn't that hard because, there was always people, and Saturday mornings we'd buck the barn, and there was lots of lessons. And, when I got home from school at night, we had chores to do. I remember, my sister and I having to feed hay and, throw hay down out of the mow. And then, we had 36 horses. So
wow,
it was enough to, so my dad worked very hard, and I saw from him. But I think when you grow up in the horse world, if you're going to make it, you better learn to work hard early. And I think I might have learned that a little later, I learned it through my parents, and then I had a few jobs away from my parents' place, and I think it really got instilled that this is how you do it.
The reality of being away from home and the
You
comfort
got
of
it.
parents. Yes.
Yeah.
So also too, like again, back to the hardworking. So when your name comes up, the first reaction a lot of people say is, yeah, that guy's a hard worker. He's hardworking. He puts in the hours and the effort. How do you feel about hearing that? And would you choose to phrase that in any other way?
Um, no, I think I do work hard. I think that you always need a good team behind you. I think with people like yourself, I think my vets, my blacksmith, over the years, the people that have worked for me taking care of the horses. And I will put a big, strong boost for my wife, Brittany, who did a lot. And she enabled me to go to the horse shows and be the front for everything that we've done. But she did a lot of stuff the last 12, 13 years to enable me to do that. So you need a team behind you.
Yes.
And I will say, yes, I think that I have worked hard. I like to be at the horse show early to ride one or two. And, a lot of people do that, but it's sort of what you have to do. And I don't mind being the last one to leave. And, again, I think hard work, and then when you throw in some passion and a love for what you do, it makes it a lot easier to do those hours.
Yep. You can put your head down on the pillow at the end of the day and knowing you've given it all and it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
So after your junior career, your successful junior career, you took some
Yeah.
time away from horses and obtained a degree in kinesiology from Laurier University. Your time away extended a little bit further as you enjoyed a post-educational professional football career with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the
Yeah.
CFL. Tell us what your experience was like playing pro football, and where did you see this particular path taking you in life?
Yeah. Um, well, it started with university. My mother said, "You will get a piece of paper, no matter what." She said, "You can do the horses, but you will get a piece of paper." So, I went away to Wilfrid Laurier. I got a chance to play football, which I played in high school and enjoyed. And then I got a chance to play pro, which was fun. Good friends of ours and clients and dear friends, the Filonis. Bernie Filoni probably led me a little bit towards taking a shot at the pro thing. I didn't enjoy it once I got there. I had a storybook university career, and the pro game, it just, to get, I was as an entry, a rookie, I was sort of a borderline whatever player. I maybe could have developed into more, but I saw guys getting shipped around. They just like to get a paycheck. And that wasn't my idea. And I wasn't comfortable as some guys were playing the game at that level. So I played for a year. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. It
Yeah.
was a great experience. And then I retired.
Yeah.
I walked in and with the general manager and the coach, and I said, "Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the opportunity, but
Yeah.
I will be retiring at the ripe age of 25."
Yeah. And it's probably because of that smart decision that you're still able to walk right now and upright
Yeah,
and, every body part
yeah,
works. Yeah.
yeah,
And I did a little research. You were inducted into the Laurier Golden Hawk Hall of Fame in 2001,
yeah,
right? And in
yeah,
2011, you were named to the Laurier Football Team of the Century, which is like the 33 greatest players of all time. And you're probably not surprised about this because over the years we've known each other, we've talked football before. So,
yeah,
I'm just fascinated by this whole concept of being like one sport to the sport you are now, with the development and the mindset that it takes to compete at that level. So yeah, I think it's quite fascinating, which leads me to this next question. How did your mentality shift from the brutality and raw strength of football
Uh,
to the grace and refined requirements of equestrian sports?
yeah, again, I grew up riding, and I think I learned on, some sensitive horses, and a lot of us learned on thoroughbreds when I was a kid. Towards the end of my junior career, I rode a few warm bloods that were a little different, but I think I learned the sensitivity part riding the thoroughbreds and some of the hotter horses when I was young. When I played hockey as a kid, I always loved running into people. So to play to play football, I don't know whether I had some hidden aggression or whatever, but I had a lot of fun, going after people, and and you know and then when I came back to riding, I think because I'm a big guy, I wanted people to think that it wasn't just brute strength getting it done.
Hmm.
So I really tried to be quiet and be still because I am a big guy. And, so I've learned to really I try my best to sit still on the horse and just go off feel, which, I probably have ridden a lot more off feel than whatever. So I think it's something you're born with, maybe, or it's, but yeah, it is a bit of a change from the football field to riding a horse.
Yeah.
But I learned the riding part first. I think I got to a point with my riding actually when I was a junior that I actually at one point thought I would never come back to riding.
Wow.
I'd done a lot of it as a junior, and at one point I almost thought I was done with it.
Really?
And then when I got to the pro game, and I realized, okay, now I know where I'm meant to be. I'm going to go back and do the riding thing. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but it is a big change from smashing with 300-pound men to riding a nice hunter course. So it's a big change.
Yes, and that was what, like, visually in my mind, I'm like, okay, as an offensive lineman, he's going up against 300-pound defense guys, and then, but if you like transform that into the riding, I mean, then you work with grace with 1,200, 1,500-pound animals. Like it's such a
Yeah.
metaphor, and I just, I think that says a lot about your what is it, like, ability to communicate with these horses, because you have to communicate with them in a different way, and you, like you say, you are so quiet on them. I see so many people trying to you know manhandle them to try to get control out of them, or to increase their energy or whatever it is. And yeah, you're the exact opposite. It's really great to watch. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So you retired from football all in one piece. You
Yeah.
decided to get back to your true passion of horses. So then what?
Yeah.
Like, how did you reintroduce yourself into the equestrian world?
I returned to my family farm. At that time, my sister and her boyfriend had been running things with my mom, whatever that my mom still taught lessons and worked in the OR. She was an OR nurse. So my mom, I mean, I don't know how she did it. She worked around the clock between the operating room and then teaching lessons. But when I came back, I started to ride again and teach a little bit. And then I just got the feel that there were a few too many chefs in the kitchen. Um, so I got a chance to work with Chris Pratt,
Okay.
and Chris and I had been friends as juniors. So I went off to help Chris. So that sort of got me back into the world again. And then while I was with Chris, there was a gentleman named John Van Reenen, and John was in Cayuga, and he and his daughter had built a little place. And at one point they talked about importing some horses from Holland. And I said, well, if you do that, keep me in mind, because I'd like to get back to riding. And I started to teach Ingrid Van Reenen. And then John offered me a job. and I started riding his horses, and we brought he and a gentleman I'm still in business with now, Julian Cry, who is in Holland. I think John, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think he imported 15 horses, and that's how I started to get back into it. And then I was lucky through John, and my sister decided she didn't want to be in the business anymore. So then I retook our family business back over, and
Okay.
then away we went.
Full
So
steam ahead.
that was 1999, and I started PJG Enterprises at that time, and then since then we've incorporated. But that's through John gave me a great opportunity, and then I retook over, if you can, your own family business, and then away I went.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't need a little help? And it's all about, those little universal opportunities. Here you go, Peter, what are you going to do with that kind of thing? And, it is your hard work and your horsemanship that allowed people to trust you, and to invest in you. So that's great. Over the years so let's get into the horsey side of this thing. You have chosen over the years, how have you chosen, your equine partners? Are there certain characteristics you look for in a horse?
Well, I think, when I started with John, we were looking for horses that were commercial, that we thought could come over and be sold. And that worked out pretty well. We've talked a little bit about Bambino. My partner Rick Bell and I were looking for I basically went off raw talent, Tracey. I don't have a budget to really be picking and choosing.
Right.
So with Bambino Chin P, if I use him as an example, we went with raw talent. It was either make it or break it with that one, because he was a bit of a freak and took a long time to get to where we were. But I went off his bloodlines. I went off he free jumped amazing. And, we sort of took a shot on a bit of we went on the talent, and hopefully we could control it. So in my life, it's not like I had right now a certain type of horse that I like. If I say maybe I don't mind them to have a little bit of a long back, I think sometimes they can use themselves well if they, and some people might disagree with that. But in my life, it's been a little bit, you take what you can get, and sort of make it and try to get the best out of what you can do with that.
Yeah, exactly. So go back to the whole Bambino can be a bit of a freak. What is it about him that is that way, and how have you managed to work with whatever this is?
Well, Bambino, so Bam Bam, as we call him, had been started at another farm. He'd been used as a young horse, as a breeding stallion. He bred a few, so he thought he was pretty special already. And he was a very careful horse. He hates to touch the jumps. And when he came to me, he would not walk over a pole on the ground. That's how much of a special character he was. So I remember walking around the ring with him, and eventually we got him to walk over a pole on the ground out of hand. Wow. And then because he was so special, and I fell off a few times, like I'd canter up to a jump, and one time he'd jump at 6 feet in the air, and the next time he'd stop, and I'd go over, I fell off, and I thought, heck with this. I did it out of hand. And I'd walk up to a little gate, and I'd let him pop over that, and he started to trust me. And then I did it at a Liverpool, and I taught him to jump the Liverpool out of hand on the ground. And I remember the first time I went to Palgrave, we were lucky. It was a gray morning and a little misty, so not many people were running down to the ring to show. And the person in the tower was very nice to me, and we cantered around the ring, and he stopped at every jump, and then he'd jump it, and then I'd canter to the next one, and he'd stop, and then we'd jump it. And the progression of Bambino was, we got pretty solid in the, meter 10, meter 15. And then the next thing I know, when they started to introduce triple combinations, we had to go back to the start again because he jumped so far into the combinations that he couldn't jump out. So he'd jump A and B and then stop at C because he'd just run out of room. So he taught me a lot of patience.
Wow.
He taught me you sort of have to mold to the horse. Like, it wasn't going to be like, there was a certain amount of my way, but I just sort of had to, he taught me a lot. And even dealing with horses today, I do probably not as much as some people, but I do a lot of stuff from the ground because I think that you can teach them from the ground. So anyways, he was a very unique character, and the last couple of years he got pretty solid at stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I know, like, I would always hear you guys were, up there and placing, and like, I'm rooting for you. So, and
Yeah.
now that I know the uniqueness of your story,
it was a long go.
Yes. And I'm finding not only like as a massage therapist and the 20 years I've been doing that, but like getting to know riders more, doing this kind of thing through my podcast and interviewing people. I'm finding out more of the how did you guys get to where you are? And that's what the purpose of this is. So that's fascinating. And yeah, you weren't able to muscle him around.
No, he definitely has a mind of his own, and you sort of have to, very carefully manage where you're going with him. That's for sure.
Yeah. So over the years, I have massaged horses off and on for both you and your clients. Yeah. And I've always been impressed with how nicely the horses have developed muscularly and through their training, their muscles felt developing, but not like overworked. So it's always been good. The horses are happy and content. The riders are happy and inspired. Watching you ride, the first thing that I noticed, and you've already touched on it, is what a quiet rider you are. And yet it's obvious that you are having a direct effect on the horse in the moment. There is a definite synergy going on. How do you transition your approach to riding to how you coach your students?
I think growing up in the business, Tracey, I've been very lucky to be around the best that we have to offer, really. I think that I'm lucky in Ontario. As a kid, it was always a very, very strong zone. And with Matt Cones and Ian Millers, and, to be able to watch that group and grow up, Eric, as, Eric's the same age as me, but to watch his career. And I think I've been very lucky. And I think I've always been a student of the game. I'll give that to myself, that I remember even as a pony rider, I would have somebody else hold my pony so I could take off to sit and watch the Grand Prix ring. And, I'd sit in the in-gate person's booth and watch the warm-up ring and watch the ring. But I've always liked watching.
Yeah.
And even to this day, when Ian is warming up or Mac is warming up, I'm always watching, when some of the great Americans come up, like Leslie Burr and people that I grew up watching, when they're at Angelstone, I'm always watching them warm up. So I try to always learn. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me. So you say transition. I'm always trying to learn from my students. Learn for the students.
Yeah.
And I really think keeping it simple and basic it's important to me. I think that riding is little things done well. I watch Beezy's and the Millers program and McLean, and I throw out names, but those are the people that are at the top of our game. And when I watch clinics on YouTube all over the world, and to me, when it's done well, it's simple things, all the little simple things are done well. And I try to keep it very simple with my students. I'm a a firm believer in correct position is the number one. Good basic flat work, number two, and I just try to keep it simple, and I try to keep learning so that I'm always probably saying I'm a good repeater too. I can repeat things over and over, but I think you have to be able to be a teacher, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So what was I going to say? I going back to like what can you say that that you've learned from your students?
I think I have to say that being patient, because I know that everybody's trying hard. Once in a while somebody needs a little push, or but a lot of the times it's fear. I think it's fear. Um, so I think just patience, and just everybody's trying hard. Some people you can push a little bit more, some people you have to just it's but I think just learning to be patient and letting everybody learn at their own speed, and giving everybody again, I think it all comes down to basics, whether it's a kid just learning on a pony, or it's somebody getting ready to jump a meter 40 class. They have to sit correct, they have to communicate with the horse correct, and I think it comes down to good basics.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, and I'm a firm believer, like with you being a lifelong learner. I firmly believe that the day you think you know everything is the day you might as well pack up your toys and get out of the ring because
Yeah,
there's so much to learn. So as a massage therapist, I'm like you. I used to love hanging out at the warm-up ring
yeah,
and just, massaging the horses I would work on and then watching them go and
yeah,
watch the interaction with the rider. And then, as a coach, with Equestrian Elements Life Coaching, that's been an absolute thrill, learning how to help people in and out of the saddle kind of thing, and dealing with
yeah,
that stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, it's absolutely, and the more you learn, the better you have, more tools you have to give to your students. And I think that's fascinating that you learn from your students too, because I'm not sure a lot of people would say that. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. So the hard work thing, again, hard work beats talent when talent hardly works. We've heard that one, that one before. So this is a saying that I've heard various sporting circles, and I'm sure the listeners have heard that as well. So how do you approach working with your students depending on their goals and abilities?
Again, I think um every year I send out an email to get people to send me their goals, short term, long term, um, so that if somebody's, I always have an agenda for what I think that particular rider and horse need to work on, and a little bit where I think they should go. But if somebody's important to them to learn how to carry their hands correct, or to do a shoulder in or something, so I always ask them for their long-term, short-term goals, and then that gives me a little bit of a guide for where we're going. um yeah, and I'm just trying to think of what
So like somebody who's got that meter 40 goal versus somebody that's kind of new, and you have to
yeah.
hold their hand a little bit more. Like does some of that football edge come out of you and just kind of push a little harder, or do
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's hopefully a little bit of an experience thing of knowing who needs to be pushed, who needs their hands held. If that, I don't mean it, but who needs to be just reassured, who can
Yep.
be pushed. And I think I sort of teach the same to everybody of, again, back to the basics, giving them the right foundation. And then, like you say, that there's always going to be a kid that's really talented. There's kids that work really hard. Some are there to just have some fun,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that you back off a little bit there. I've got a lot of adults that they've done it at when they were kids, and that they've come back to, they want to do it safely and correctly, but it's not a big deal if they have, if things aren't perfect, and so you just have to learn, I think, through experience, who you push, who you back off on a little bit. And but I try to give everybody the same basics, and I say that word a lot, but I give them all the same grounding, so that if somebody wants to get better, they can push themselves and we'll go there. Somebody's happy, keeping it a little bit fun and whatever, then we sort of keep it there too.
Yeah, that's good. So with your students that have maybe some confidence issues, because, as I'm finding getting into the coaching, there are a lot of riders that have those confidence issues. And I mean,
Yeah.
kudos to them to continue to push through.
Yeah.
How do you help your students develop a stronger mindset when it comes to their confidence?
Again, Tracey, I go back to giving them a good foundation so that they're as secure on the horse as they can be. You try to match them with a good partner that's going to help out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm patient. And again, I don't, in that case, I don't put a lot of pressure on them. I put the pressure on to do it correctly so that they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We teach a certain way, number one, for function, so that they can do the things they want to do, but a lot of it's safety, so that it's like wearing your seatbelt in your car. When things go wrong on a horse, you want to be able to be in the right position at the right time I think to help people with their confidence, I start with correct basics again, and then the patience part, and just incrementally maybe pushing them a little bit, so that they realize they can do that.
Right.
And then hopefully through being able to match them with the right partner, so that at the right time they feel confident that they can do what they want to do.
Yeah. Now, do you ever have to do, any of that pep talk kind of coaching? Not always in the saddle, I'm guessing too, right? Like a little bit of coaching from the ground, and you got this, and that kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think that's experience of knowing if somebody's maybe giving up on themselves a little bit, to give them a little firm push and say, no, come on, let's go. Or yeah, everything's going to be okay. Again, an experience of where to back off, where to push, and just try to read what the individual needs at that time, and to help them acquire their goals, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, like I said, I've got a bunch of clients that work with you and train with you, and I noticed too that you're doing a lot of clinics and stuff, and I always hear like really positive things. Exactly what you said. Peter's all about the basics. He tries to keep things simple so people feel secure, and so yeah. Did you enjoy doing clinics?
I do. It's usually, it's fresh faces. I'm sure they're hearing a lot of the same things their own coaches say, just, sometimes reinforced. But I do like the clinics. I think that, get your name out there. But I think the way I do it, in keeping it simple, I hope I can help people. And, if a lot of times there's a person that's having trouble with their horse, and or something's happening, and if you can give them a few pointers to help go home and make life a little easier for both of them, then it feels pretty good.
Yeah. So I know COVID's been a bit of a pain in the butt, but like how many clinics a year do you normally do? And, are people welcome to get in touch with you for that?
Oh yeah. I'd say like between 6 and 8. I've got a few barns that are they've been great to me. And, every year before the show season or in the fall, I get the call, and it's fun. And, so I enjoy them, and I welcome them. I have to balance it a little bit to make sure that my group at home are taken care of. I can't be running off every weekend, but I think it's fun to get out there and just just get your name out there a little bit. And like you say, I try to keep it quite simple. I think that a lot of people maybe get a little ahead of themselves thinking that this is important, but when it's really put your heels down and do this, and it's amazing what their position, what little things can help.
Yeah.
So it's fun. I enjoy clinics, and I find it's a long day, but I find it quite rewarding.
Yeah, very inspiring. So I
Yeah.
guess just one other question here that's sort of come up for me. Doing what you do, and being a professional at it, how do you look after yourself physically and mentally?
After I played football, I was quite a big guy, and I would say I didn't do enough. 2, 3 years ago, my wife, Brittany, got involved with, and there's lots of ways to do things, but we got involved with Orange Theory, which is a franchise, or a chain of gyms.
Mhm.
And so through Brittany, we started going to Orange Theory. I found it was a great mix of, the way they do things. It's a great program. It's coach led, so it pushes you a little bit. But basically, off of that, Brittany and I went from, and I won't, for myself, I found that being fitter, you look, I like, again, on when I follow people all over the world, and everybody's working out now, right? In 20 years ago, it's just like golf and stuff. Nobody worked out. Now every golfer has a trainer and a fitness program, and riders are the same. So
Yep.
back to myself, I love this Orange Theory. I love the way the sessions are worked, and I've found that I love running. So this winter when it was really cold, I didn't run as much, but now that the weather's getting nice, I quite enjoy going out on the road and running. And like
Good for
this
you.
morning, I ran 10K, and I find it helps. I can feel my wind and stuff riding. And for the people that say to you, "Oh, riding's, you don't have to be fit," when you're on your 10th horse at the horse show, or like Hyde, Moffat, and people like that, when they're on their 30th horse, you have to be fit. So it's helped a lot, Tracey. So back to your initial question, I really enjoy running, and I found even myself, for the core exercises they do at the gym, and the strength, is important. I should probably do a little bit more flexibility.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's an important part that I'm going to try to improve on.
Yep.
But for me, the fitness of, I really find the running help me with the cardio part of being able to keep up with these animals pulling you around all day.
Well, I do see your posts on like Instagram, and how many kilometers you've logged in. So good for you.
It's fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy it, and it's
It's a
I
little
hope,
meditative too for you, I'm sure.
yeah, you get out there and you couldn't sort of shut some things off and just let your brain go to another spot, and
Yeah.
it's pretty therapeutic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So there are so many great things about this sport. And, I don't take part in it, but I'm in that support team around the sport. And yeah, I know, like, I've been so blessed to have amazing clients and to get some amazing experiences with different horses at different levels. What would you like to see get better in this sport?
Wow. That's a good question. I think I would have to say that I'm really happy with what Kean and the gang, Kean White, John Jameson. There's a few guys that have really, they're leveling the playing field with horse shows, trying to, I think, establish um, a place for people to get more exposure to the sport. And I think that's, the more people we can draw into this sport, it's great. And make it, it's hard. It's expensive, right? It's a bit of a luxury, and it's, to feed a horse is expensive these days, but to get a wide base of people and get them started in our great sport, it's fun. And I think that's been, there's always going to be the top level. I think, that top group are going to be there, and that those kids are going to find their way there, but it's sort of fun to see the grassroots growing, maybe.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And I think that's why I enjoy the clinic part. I
Mhm.
think giving some of those people a chance to get some coaching, and just get a feel for that, doing it correct. I hope I teach it correct, and just letting the grassroots develop a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, even yourself. I mean, there's not a lot of kids anymore that come from beginnings like you, where you get to grow up in it and experience the workings of it, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, having opportunities like what Kian is doing, and with Angelstone and now Callan and Equestrian, it does definitely open the door, open it up a little bit more for people. And you
Yeah.
doing your clinics, it's yeah, we just need to sort of reach out to people more and invite them in and give them the opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
cool. Peter, this has been awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today and allow me to pick your brain on some of the thoughts and experiences in this sport. It's been great getting to know you a little more too. This has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you and your students have a very successful and enjoyable 2021. Where can people get a hold of you with any questions they may have?
Probably the best way is, we are developing a new website. So the best is probably through Peter Gisborn Inc.
Okay.
at gmail.com.
All right.
That's my email. And if people need to get in touch, ask some questions, whatever, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Or on Insta, I'm you can find me on Instagram.
Peter Gisborn Inc., right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll put all that information in the show notes so listeners can hunt you down.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Tracey.